Hello everyone, this is Afsha, a lecturer at Ahmedabad High School and Junior College. Welcome back to my class. Today we are going to start the chapter 10, that is biomolecules, from unit 5, that is cell structure and functions of botany, into first year. In our previous class we have already started this unit, and from that we have already completed the chapter 9. Now it's the time for the chapter 10, that is biomolecules. So to understand this chapter well, first we should know what are biomolecules. What is the meaning of biomolecules actually? So biomolecules are nothing but the substances that are produced by any living cell, or we can say the compounds, the chemical compounds produced by the living cells will be called as biomolecules. So coming to the classification or the types of biomolecules, biomolecules are majorly 4 in number. 4 types of biomolecules are there, we can say. The first one is lipids, carbohydrates, nucleic acids, and the last one is proteins. So these are the 4 major biomolecules that are produced by the living cells. Now without wasting our time, let us move forward towards the first one, that is lipids. So what are lipids actually? They are generally water insoluble. They could be simple fatty acids. So we can say that lipids is another name for the fatty acid. A fatty acid has a carboxyl group attached to an R group. So that will be a formula where the carboxyl group will be attached to an R group. The R group could be a methyl or ethyl or higher number of CH groups. So it may differ from one to another. For example, palmitic acid has 16 carbons including carboxyl carbon, and arachidonic acid has 20 carbon atoms including the carboxyl carbon. So fatty acids could be saturated or unsaturated. It may differ from one to another. And another simple lipid is glycerol, which is trihydroxypropane. So trihydroxypropane is the other name for the glycerol, and many lipids have both glycerol and fatty acids. Here the fatty acids are found esterified with glycerol. They can be then the monoglycerides, diglycerides and triglycerides. These are also called fats and oils based on melting point, and oils have lower melting point. Example will be the gingerly oil, and hence remain as oil in winter. So that is the reason it will not get dissolved in water. Living organisms have a number of carbon compounds in which heterocyclic rings can be found, and some of these rings are nitrogen bases, that is adenine, guanine, cytosine, uracil and thymine. When found attached to a sugar, they are called as nucleosides. When sugar group is attached to that, it will be called as nucleosides, and if a phosphate group is attached to that, then it can be called as nucleotide. You have to remember the difference between a nucleoside and a nucleotide. If it consists of a sugar group, then it can be called as a nucleoside, and if it consists of a phosphate group, it can be called as a nucleotide. Nucleic acids like DNA and RNA consist of nucleotides only, and DNA and RNA function as a genetic material. That was all about the lipids. Now let us move forward towards the second biomolecule, that is proteins. Proteins are polypeptides actually. They are linear chains of amino acids linked by peptide bonds. Fine. So each protein is a polymer of amino acid actually, as there are 21 types of amino acids like cysteine, alanine, proline, etc. We all know that a protein is a heteropolymer and not a homopolymer. Hetero in the sense more than one, right? Different we can say. And a homopolymer has only one type of monomer repeating n number of times. This information about the amino acid content is important as later in your nutrition lessons, and you will learn that certain amino acids are essential for our health and they have to be supplied through our diet. We all know this fact actually, and hence dietary proteins are the source of essential amino acids. Therefore amino acids can be essential or non-essential. The later are those which our body can make, while we get essential amino acids through our diet, food and etc. Coming to the functions of the proteins, proteins carry out many functions in living organisms. Some transport nutrients across cell membranes, some fight infectious organisms, some are hormones, some are enzymes and etc. Collagen is the most abundant protein in animal world, and ribulose bisphosphate carboxylase oxygenase, that is Rubisco, is the most abundant protein in whole of the biosphere including animals as well as plants. So now it's the time for the next biomolecule, that is carbohydrates. So the acid insoluble pellet also has polysaccharides. So these are the polysaccharides as another class of macromolecules, and polysaccharides are long chains of sugars. They are the chains of sugars, as proteins were the chains of amino acid, right? So these are the chains of sugars. They are threads, literally a cotton thread we can say, containing different monosaccharides as building blocks. For example, cellulose is a polymeric polysaccharide consisting of only one type of monosaccharide, that is glucose. Here we cannot see the heteromers actually. Cellulose is a homopolymer. Starch is a variant of this but present as a storehouse of energy in plant tissues. If we proceed further, we can see that animals have another variant that will be called as glycogen. Inulin is a polymer of fructose in a polysaccharide chain. Suppose a chain of glycogen, the right end is called the reducing end and the left end will be called as the non-reducing end, and it has branches like in the form of a cartoon. Starch forms helical secondary structures. In fact, starch can hold I2 molecules, that is iodine molecules, in the helical portion only. The starch I2 is blue in color, and cellulose does not contain complex helices and hence cannot hold iodine. Now if we proceed towards the last biomolecule, it is none other than the nucleic acid. So the another type of macromolecule that one would find in the acid insoluble fraction of any living tissue is the nucleic acid. These are polynucleotides. Together with polysaccharides and polypeptides, these comprise the true macromolecular fraction of any living tissue or cell. For nucleic acids, the building block is a nucleotide. A nucleotide has three chemically distinct components. One is a heterocyclic compound, the second is the monosaccharide, and the third is a phosphoric acid or a phosphate. The heterocyclic compounds in the nucleic acids are the nitrogen bases, that is named as adenine, guanine, uracil, cytosine and thymine. Adenine and guanine are substituted purines while the rest are substituted pyrimidines, right? Adenine and guanine can be called as the purines while the others will be considered as the pyrimidines, and the skeletal heterocyclic ring is called as purine and pyrimidine respectively. And the sugar found in polynucleotides or the nucleic acid is either ribose, that is a monosaccharide pentose, or 2-deoxyribose. A nucleic acid containing deoxyribose is called as deoxyribonucleic acid, that is DNA, while that which contains ribose is called as ribonucleic acid, that is RNA. So that is the main difference between the DNA and the RNA. So DNA is the nucleic acid that consists of deoxyribose nucleic acid, and RNA is the nucleic acid which contains ribonucleic acid. So that is a major difference between the DNA and the RNA. So till now we have already covered all the four types of biomolecules, that is lipids, proteins, carbohydrates and nucleic acid. So coming to lipids, they are nothing but the fatty acids. Proteins are the polypeptide chains that are made up of amino acids. Carbohydrates are the polysaccharides, and nucleic acids are nothing but the polynucleotides. Now let us see the average composition of these cells. So in a cell, what is the composition of these biomolecules that is present? Let us check out that. So coming to the first major component a living cell consists of is water. So each and every living cell consists of 70 to 90% of water. Actually, it is the average of the total mass total mass of a cell. From that 70 to 90% will be water only. And if we proceed further, we can see our biomolecules. So let us start with the proteins. So in our living cells, the composition of proteins will be around 10 to 15%. And if we go towards the carbohydrates, we can see that only 2 to 3% of carbohydrates will be present in a living cell. And if we proceed further, we can see that the composition of the lipids in a living cell will be around 2%. And the last biomolecule, that is none other than the nucleic acids, the composition will be around 5 to 7%, and few ions will be present in a living cell, that will be around 1% only. So this is the average composition a living cell will be having. So we can refer it again that water will be around 70 to 90%, proteins will be around 10 to 15%, carbohydrates will be 3%, lipids will be around 2%, nucleic acids will be 5 to 7%, and the ions, that will be the extra chemical compounds we can say, that will be around 1%. Now let us move forward towards the last topic of our chapter, that is the structure of proteins. So as proteins are the important biomolecules a living cell will be having, and it will be around 10 to 15% in a living cell. So now let us move forward towards its structures. So as mentioned earlier, as we have discussed earlier, proteins are the heteropolymers containing strings of amino acids, right? And structure of molecules means different things in different contexts. In inorganic chemistry, the structure invariably refers to the molecular formula, right? Their molecular formula can be considered as the structure. Example will be NaCl, that is sodium chloride, and MgCl2, and etc. So organic chemists always write a two-dimensional view of the molecule while representing the structure of the molecules. The example will be benzene, naphthalene, and etc. So that was all about the organic chemistry. Coming to the physicist, conjure of the three-dimensional views of molecular structures, while biologists describe the protein structure at 4 levels. So the sequence of amino acids, that is the positional information in a protein, which is the first amino acid, which is the second, and so on, is called as the primary structure of a protein. A protein is imagined as a line. So assume that it is line of amino acids actually, and the left end represented by the first amino acid and the right end is represented by the last amino acid. And the first amino acid is also called as N-terminal amino acids. So just suppose this line is a chain of amino acid or a protein, just imagine. So what will happen, the left end here is represented by the first amino acid. So this will be the first amino acid and this will be the last amino acid. The right end will be the last amino acid, and this first amino acid is also called as N-terminal amino acid, and the last amino acid is called as the C-terminal amino acid. A protein thread does not exist throughout as an extended rigid rod. So it cannot be in the straight line, we can say. It is not in the form of a rigid rod. So the thread is folded in the form of a helix. Helix in the sense spirally coiled structure will be present. Of course, only some portions of protein thread are arranged in the form of a helix. In proteins, only right-handed helices are observed. Other regions of the protein thread are folded into other forms in what is called as the secondary structure. In addition, the long protein chain is also folded upon itself like a hollow woolen bell, giving rise to a tertiary structure. So, where the long protein chain is also folded upon itself actually, and this gives us a three-dimensional view of a protein. Tertiary structure is absolutely necessary for many biological activities of proteins because it gives a 3D structure for the clear understanding, and some proteins are an assembly of more than one polypeptide or subunits, and the manner in which these individual folded polypeptides or subunits are arranged with respect to each other is the architecture of a protein. Otherwise that will be called as the quaternary structure. Adult human hemoglobin consists of 4 subunits. 2 of these are identical to one another. Hence 2 subunits are of alpha type and 2 subunits will be of beta type. Together consist of a hemoglobin, that is alpha and beta. 2 subunits of alpha, 2 subunits of beta will combinedly form a human hemoglobin. So that was all about the structure of protein in detail, and that was all about the chapter today, where we have covered different types of biomolecules, that is lipids, proteins, carbohydrates and nucleic acid, and we have also learnt about the average composition of a cell, and we have also discussed about the structure of proteins in detail. So let us stop the class here itself. We'll meet again in our next class with a new chapter. Thank you.